Welcome to. Let me get situated here. Here we go. You like that shit? Welcome to a wrap-up video of quite a large scale. I've done one of these before in the past, but I think maybe two in the past, but it's 2 months worth. 2 months. 2 months. I've got something to fuel me here. I don't know if that came through, but I've got to turn on the fan as well. It's a little hot. Turn on the fan, get that cool breeze coming in. Shouldn't be affecting the mic too much. I have some noise cancellation settings, so that should be okay. Here is the drink of choice for today. I've got the day off work because it's Australia. And so I'm going to take this time to discuss some books because I finished this one today, but I've got a bunch of other stuff that I finished in December of last year, and then obviously January of this year is going to take up pretty much everything else. Now, I'm going to move my camera a little bit, and you might be thinking, why is he moving the camera all of a sudden? Well, because the first book that I have to talk about is actually, I have no idea which order I'm going to do them in, but I'm going to do the online ones first, or the ebooks, first, which I actually have a visual device that's going to help the visual learners out there to be able to see what I'm talking about. And if you can see what's on the screen right now, it's The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. I enjoyed this book. Let me hydrate before I go on my rant. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was pretty much of equal quality to books 2 and 3, or technically 5 and 6 of Mistborn, Era 2. That probably made no sense, but you know what I'm fucking saying. Shadows of Self and Bands of Mourning. I think it was about of comparable quality to them, but I think this book was the one that had the most potential, but also kind of squandered some of that potential. I think it was nice to finally have some bigger themes coming together, more than just a small scale one-off, Wax doing something that is involving himself, because, we're all fans of the Cosmere, and if we're reading a Cosmere book, we kind of want to see more. We want to know more. It's all well and dandy to have just an amazing book in and of itself, which I think kind of largely Alloy of Law attempted to do, and it definitely delivered that on some level for some people. But for me, it just wasn't satisfying. I didn't enjoy really how it... this big stack of books I'm kind of sitting on. I wasn't as big of a fan of the first one, but I think this book is kind of the exact opposite of Alloy of Law in a lot of ways, right? It's grand. It's trying to pull from all different parts of the Cosmere. It's trying to bring together, the end of a massive series, or the end of an era that is part of a massive series, I should say. And it had a huge task. It had a huge job to do, basically, right? To take all these Cosmere elements that have, started to be revealed by Brandon Sanderson, or whatever you want to really say about it. And it had to close all these up in a tight little fashion and send it away, because this is the end of an era. After this, we're moving on to the 80s or whatever Mistborn Era 3 is going to be. And I think it mostly succeeded in what it tried to do, but similarly to the Shadows of Self and Bands of Mourning, I just didn't really think it really hit the kind of the mark that some of the other Cosmere books, especially Mistborn books, have done for me in the past. It didn't hit as hard as The Final Empire or The Well of Ascension for me. Those two books are amazing, and I think there are a bunch of reasons why this book wasn't as strong as those books, while also being really strong in its own right, being really interesting in its own right, and playing off the ideas of the Cosmere a lot more, and in a much more interesting way, I thought, bringing in these elements like more shards that we haven't seen on Scadrial before and stuff like that. I thought it was really great. I think the characters were well done in here. Obviously, I don't think Marasi steps up as much as I personally thought she could, but that is more of a expression of her character throughout the series, I think, more than what she displays here. I think here she's perfectly fine, maybe even more enjoyable than Steris. Even though I love Steris, I think Steris is kind of just nobody in this book. But like a nobody that we get a weirdly large amount of time with. I think the plot is kind of everywhere, which could have been really fun. But I think some of the inclusions, like the Allomancers that Wax and Wayne kind of face off against, particularly, I won't really say what they are, but I think that there was kind of some things that were distracting this book from just kind of doing its job. And there was kind of these extracurricular things that were happening that I thought were just kind of not as strong or important. And I wish it was kind of a bit more streamlined, because we had talk about the fucking bands of mourning and shit in in Ellendale and the hometown and planning for what was happening. We've got Marasi going on the fucking side quest with like the followers that she has and all the implications that deals in and deals with, and then we've got these two motherfuckers that are doing their own thing, and that like it's all kind of tied in, but then there's like stuff to do with Wax's family and whatnot, and then there's Wayne's entire story and arc that he has in this book, and I just think there's so much going on that none of it hits as hard as it probably could. And so that's what I mean by potential. I think if this book was twice as long, maybe. But also, I think it's one of those things where it's like there was too much for the book to do in its short little runtime. But also, it felt bloated. So I'm happy that it didn't do as much, and I kind of wish it was shorter. So it's one of those books that's kind of whatever. But that being said, I think anything on Scadrial is going to be really fun to read. And Wax and Wayne are great characters, I think. Wayne especially, super awesome. Definitely my favorite character of Era 2. Steris, I think initially I wanted to like Steris more, and I think when I was reading I was like yes, Steris is amazing, but I think upon finishing the series, I'm just kind of like Wayne was the best and then everybody else. I think my love for Steris is maybe dropped off a little bit, and my love for Wayne is kind of still where it was at. So that's nice. Anyway, we're going to be here a long time unless I fucking get a move on. Zoom in here. The next book, not actually the next book that I read, but I'm just going to do these ebooks first. Trust the Emerald Sea. Everybody is raving about this book right now, and I think it deserves the hype. It's such a fun book. It's so entertaining. It's really cute. It's really good. It's got that fairy tale kind of feeling to it that Brandon Sanderson doesn't normally really do. It's not, it's kind of hard to describe. It's very cozy, it's very warm, but there are definitely the Sanderson-isms that pop up, especially a lot more in his more recent works. And I think it's really fun. I think it has a lot of Cosmere stuff that's going on. Obviously, it includes a completely new magic system and world, so you can immerse yourself in that. It feels really immersive. It's really great. I think some of the comedy in this book didn't really work for me, and I don't know. Like, I've been kind of watching some people's reviews of this and stuff like that, just to kind of see if other people had the same issue as me, and it doesn't really seem like it. The comedy in this book for me came off as a really like random epic whatever, and it was getting to a point where I was getting a little bit annoyed at it. This kind of comedy has existed in the Cosmere for as long as the Cosmere has existed, I suppose, but because it's just Brandon Sanderson's sense of humor, I guess. But something that kind of struck me here was I'm getting just a little bit tired of it, I suppose. It's not really my sense of humor. The gloves analogy at the start of the book, like that was kind of something that I was like, this is annoying. Like I don't find the sense of humor that funny. And I think this book relies on its sense of humor at times to deliver lines or to have that punchline or to have a little character moment or something that's fun. It relies on humor, and a lot of the time it's with Hoid as well. But it just didn't really land for me. Other than that, I think it's a really strong book. And I think even like I could be rating it a little bit harsh if I really consider it in terms of humor. Like there were times where this got a nose breath out of me, and I found myself enjoying it. The humor at play, but there are other times where it didn't, and that was kind of the reason why I was like, oh, maybe 4-star. Like I can see this is a really great book, but it's not kind of up my alley as much as something else like The Well of Ascension is, right? The Well of Ascension is kind of creeping its way to be my favorite. It's either that or Words of Radiance, but yeah, that is kind of that. Let me close off the Chrome viewing, and let's go back to the physical books. I want to do Elantris last, so let's put her down. And I'm going to do the rest of them in order from when I read them, and I'm pretty sure it's A Little Life next, but I'll just pull it up anyway. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Let's see what's next. I'm pretty sure it is this joint. Let's do date red. Sorry, y'all. Yeah. Did I talk about Emperor's Soul in last wrap up and Bands of Mourning? I think I did. Okay. A Little Life. I gave this book a 5-star. Let's come back. Come back to me. I gave this book, oh no, not that much. 5-star rating. I don't know. I see people give this a 1-star rating. I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree. I see people giving this a 5-star rating. I'm like, damn, I agree. So I'm not really sure. This book is hard to rate, hard to read, and hard to describe to somebody without just giving them a list of trigger warnings and sending them on their way. It's horrific, it's brutal, it's disgusting, it's hard to read, it's terrible, it's like just insane. It's just insane that this is what Hanya Yanagihara has written, I suppose. I don't know how the fuck she came up with this idea. But I think she said somewhere that she wanted to make a book that is just like, it's just like gray wallpaper, and it just gets darker and darker as you go down. And goddamn, does she succeed. This book is scary for how dark it fucking gets. Something that people should not read unless they're really prepared for it. And it's really goddamn long. It's not something you can fucking breeze through if you're like, oh, this is a little bit crazy, I'm just gonna skip, through a section. No, bitch. You're gonna have to sit through so many hours of this book to really get to the end and go through that. Sometimes it makes you think, oh my god, maybe we're gonna get off this fucking depressing ass ride, and I'm gonna be able to take a break. And you do get some breathers throughout here, if that's any consolation. But like, that'll end. I'm telling you, that'll end. If you ever think it's going up, bitch, wait till it goes down, because it's going down. This book doesn't have a good ending. It doesn't have a good beginning or a middle. It's just fucked the whole way through. And I'm really glad I read it. I think it's one of the best books I've read in my life. And it's also one of the most needlessly horrific books I've read in my life. And I don't know if she needed to go that hard, but she did. And it was really impactful. And I think about it a lot. And it's it's not something that I wish I thought about a lot, you know? It just comes up sometimes in my brain. I'm like, ooh, well, we read that. I don't know how people reread A Little Life. I've seen some people be like, I'm gonna reread it, haha, sad. Girl, get help. Go to therapy. Don't reread a fucking Little Life. Come on now. Anyway, The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a really good book. It's fun. It's really good. I think it's like a theory-based science fiction, an idea-focused, idea-forward, whatever. And it kind of aims to deconstruct like what gender is and means, I suppose. And at the heart of it, there is just a classic story, like it's just a story. But I found myself really enjoying this. I think it's pretty boring at times. I think it's kind of weird. It's kind of strange. It's kind of odd. I think sometimes what it says about gender isn't actually that big brain. It's kind of just like, okay, sure. Like, you know, would there be war if there was no gender and there was no guys, because guys generally fight in wars? I don't know. Sometimes it isn't as, you know, groundbreaking as it kind of thinks it is, I suppose, but I don't know. I found myself really enjoying this read. It wasn't something that I was like frothing at the mouth to open and keep reading like this book, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it like a 4 out of 5 because I think, like I said, there's kind of some room for improvement, but it's a pretty old book, I think. If I can remember correctly, it's like the 60s or some shit. 1969. So I'm kind of thinking like, you know, this is pretty old. She was kind of on the money with the whole gender thing. Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. That's, I think, all I have to say about that. Pick that one up. It's sci-fi, but it doesn't really read like sci-fi, I suppose. They're not really flying around in spaceships or anything. It's more of like a more advanced creature visits like a less advanced civilization, and it's almost all just the lesser civilization. So yeah, that's kind of how it's going. I must say, I don't really think back on The Left Hand of Darkness that much. But I had a fun time. So that is what that is. I don't care about any of y'all. Next book, God's Grave, Jay Kristoff. Disappointment, kind of. The little bit of disappointment. This one. I think I gave it a 7.7. I guess technically it would be a 7 out of 10 or so, but it's a 3.75, which is more than a 7 out of 10, but 7.5 out of 10. I don't know if I believe that. Putting my ratings into a scale out of 10. Let me pause for a moment. Putting my ratings into a scale out of 10, I always think I give books a half star more than they maybe deserve. And I think in future I'm going to be a wee bit more critical. But then again, I think of something like A Little Life and I'm like, where do I draw the line? Like, where do I say, this didn't deserve what I got? Anyway. God's Grave, Jay Kristoff. God's Grave, Jay Kristoff. A letdown, I suppose. I didn't hate it. But I think it's like a 3.5 star, probably. I gave it a 3.75, but why the fuck? What's that 0.25 doing? Nothing. It's pushing it more towards 4, and I don't think it deserves to be there. But I'm going to leave it there because I'm too lazy to really think about it. But it's basically the fucking Gladiator book. Let me tell you something. I signed up for an Assassin's School book series. the first book was the assassin school, and I thought, okay, cool, like let's see what happens now. I didn't want to go into a fucking gladiator tournament. I didn't want to go into the Colosseum, like being a slave. Get me out. Get me out. I mean, the end of the book, she's not there anymore. But I don't enjoy the detour that we went on. I think all the characters that were at the Colosseum were kind of shit. I don't fucking remember any of their names, and I don't care about any of them. And it's kind of shit, and I don't care. The characters from the school in the first book are sickening. There's a huge cast of characters from the school that are really interesting, really fun. They'll have unique characteristics and traits, and they're really cool and epic, and you know, they're fucking powerful beings. We just have a bunch of slaves. And not to be controversial, but I don't fucking care about them. The slaves, I don't care about them. And it's because Jay Kristoff wrote them as boring, and they're in captivity half the time. I don't want to read about a fucking animal in captivity. Come on now. How does this have 4.47 on Goodreads? Average rating. Are you dumb? Are y'all dumb? It's probably not that bad, but I just don't see it. Girls, I don't see it. I'm not here with you on this one. Although I still think any story set in the Nevernight world will be fun, and I'll enjoy it. That's why it's got a 3.75, 3.5. Whatever. That's why it's got a positive rating still. But I'm pissed off because book 1 was so good, and I was like, yes, book 2 is gonna like take all the shit we had to, like, because book 1 had a lot of learning, and I was like, book 2 is gonna take that and do this cool thing with it, and it didn't. Also, semi spoiler alert, because if you know who my favorite character was from book 1, they died, and I'm pissed off about it. They died for no reason, and the romance in this book was kind of weird. I'm describing this book like it's a 3-star. What positive things do I have to say about it? Nothing. That's some things. It's a 3. Okay. Am I gonna do that? Was it worse than Dandelion Dynasty? Honestly? Honestly? Was it? Yeah, I kind of think it was. I don't know. Whatever. I'll leave it as it is. But Jay Kristoff, I got my fucking eye on you, bitch. Next book, The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is another book. What is going on with me today? This is another book that I think I'm dropping my original rating for. Bitch, the recency bias is going crazy. 3-star Jay Kristoff. I'm doing this shit live. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna do 3.25 for God's Grave, and then I gotta delete these off my account so it doesn't fucking show up, because I don't want it to show up like that. I don't know how I hate when you update something on Goodreads, it like sends it out like it just happened. No, I'm just altering shit that I had done before. If you knew me, you would understand. Okay, hopefully that stays, but yeah, okay, good. Ken Liu, we were talking about. I originally gave this a 4-star. I think I'm dropping it to a 3.5 upon reflection. I think this is like a good book, but I think it's not really for me. And I think the reason why I was like, okay, 4-star is a pretty good book, and then I moved on to the next book that I read and really enjoyed it. It kind of made me think back on this one and went, it wasn't like just a little bit worse than this book. It was like just not my taste, really. Um, I feel so harsh giving that rating to this book because I think this book is great. Like, I think Ken Liu wrote a really good book. I just think it's fucking hard to read. It's kind of boring at times, and the characters aren't as fun and alive as I usually like them to be. It's kind of just like going over the histories or whatever. Um, it's a fun world. I'm excited to read The Wall of Storms, but usually with a series like this, if I enjoy book one, I'm like, okay, let me buy books 2 and 3 if I really like the covers. Because I love the cover. Bitch, I love the cover. Check her out. Check her out. Check out the. Ooh. I love the cover, but it just wasn't giving as much as it could have given. And especially thinking back on it, I'm like, that didn't really give as much as I thought it did. I think it was a really good book. I really enjoyed reading it. Don't come for me on that department. But yeah, I don't think it deserves the hate for being misogynist. Some people claim. I mean, there aren't that many female characters. Also, when there's a cool character that gets introduced, sometimes they just fucking the next like 2 pages, and I'm like, what's going on? So you learn about so many people, like so many characters get introduced and they just fucking die, and I'm like, girl, what are you trying to do here? You're trying to just take my interest and fucking throw it out the window every time because I'm getting attached to these characters and then they're just dying. So then I'm like, okay, let's not. Hopefully, what's it called? The other one, the second one. The Wall of Storms is good because everyone says The Wall of Storms is really great. So I'll read that one and then I'll make a decision whether or not I want to read the next 2 books. But it was fine. It was a fine book. But I'm not rushing back home to tell anyone to go read it. I think it was slightly better than God's Grave because I just think it was better written. But aside from that, I think they're both just kind of average books. Now, A Little Life was 1 5-star. How about another? How about I show you another 5-star fucking book, bitch? I swear to God, this was the book that I was like, or the series, I suppose, that I was like, I'm gonna love this series. Every description of it, I was like, okay, bitch. Every time someone was like on BookTube or whatever, is like, this describing the series. It's a character focused grimdark, not really plot heavy. I was like, bitch, that is me. That is me. Gimme. This book and the first book of the Live Ship Traders trilogy were the 2 books that I was like, okay, if these aren't 5 stars, there's something going on. And now that I've got this one out the way, girl, I think this could be, and I'm gonna say it's not for now, because I'm pretty sure book 2 is gonna be better than this book, if what everyone says is true. Genuinely, I think this book is better than almost everything I've ever read. I think it's so good. And the reason why that's so fucking crazy to me that I enjoyed this more than most books I've read before in the past is that, like, nothing really happens. Something kind of happens, but nothing really happens. This book is just a bunch of silly little characters, silly little morally grey gremlins fucking running around, being silly, quarreling with one another, being gross, being weird. And it's so good. It's so good. Once you finish this book, you understand the reason for this book, if that makes sense. You don't really get a huge general central plot line until, I suppose, you can kind of put it together for yourself why this book exists in the scope of the trilogy. Because this book is very much so set up. And I think once you kind of realize what is being set up, you can go like, oh damn, that's what we're doing. And that's nice, right? Because I think while you're reading, it doesn't really have that huge plot, which I've complained about before in the past, Way of Kings. But I think because the Way of Kings was trying to make me feel like there was something happening the whole time, it was like there's mysteries and shit happening, and I'm like, bitch, just tell me, like, what are you holding back, like, for? This book is just like, have fun. Here you go, have fun. And I was like, okay, bitch, I'm strapped in. I'm gonna have fun. Um, there are definitely mysteries. There are so many mysteries that are still unsolved from this book, but the way that Joe Abercrombie delivers that to you, it doesn't make you feel like you're not really understanding, like you're being kept away from all of these secrets and you have to keep reading to figure out what's even the point of this whole story. That kind of is the case, but he does it in such a brilliant, exciting, enthralling, encapsulating way that is very character forward. So you're like, okay, I may not know what these characters are about to go and fully do, but I love each and every one of them, and I'm on fucking board to go see what's up. And that's what I love about this book the most. That's what I'm really fucking with the most. The characters are great. Let me see my review, because girl, I don't want to miss anything on this book. I think this book is boots. Yeah, so the characters, there are three main characters. We've got Logan Ninefingers, who is kind of just like he's the guy that you follow at the beginning of the book. He's the one that kind of opens the book. He's kind of just like a brutish barbarian type of guy, I suppose. And he's like a Northman in some ways. So he's kind of got that bit more of a Viking vibe to him. Yeah. And then we got Giselle, I don't really know. He personally is my bias. He's a piece of shit, but I love him. I think he's like a rich boy who's about to enter into like a fencing tournament. And that kind of reminds me of somebody else who's my favorite character from a book series, Adolin. It's giving like rich piece of shit motherfucker Adolin, and it's so good. I love it. He's such a little weasel. He's such a little gremlin. It's so good. It's amazing. And even though he's a piece of shit and he talks like, he's so up himself and whatever, I kind of fuck with him like on like a legitimate level. I'm like, I kind of rock with you. You're rich, you're stupid. I like that. And then we have Inquisitor Glotka, who is a torturer for the kind of like the king's little secret police torture, like CIA underground thing. And he's a torturer for them. And Glokta. I always say it the other way. Glokta. He's also really good. And I think Glokta is like a favorite for most people that like the evil, grimy kind of guys. And Logan is kind of the favorite of people who are a bit more standard and want like a typical protagonist that isn't as in your face a piece of shit. But I think I'm more of like Giselle fan, and I don't think many people are. So maybe I'm just fucking crazy, but that's how I'm sitting. And then there's three minor characters who we follow. Dogman. Maybe I shouldn't be saying the names of them, but cat's out of the bag, dog's out of the man. West and the girl whose name starts with F. Fanny. No, I don't know. Fuck. What's her name? F. F. Um. F. I don't know. The girl. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've read it. Fucking Fanny. I don't know. She's cool, but those three are like minor characters. I fuck with everyone on the POV to an extent, even if they're really evil and like nasty and weird. I fuck with them to an extent, but there's one character that I don't. I won't say who because I fucked with them for most of the book, and then they did something, and I was like, oh, maybe not. Let's retract that statement. But I guess you know it's not Giselle or Glockta because I have already said I really fucked them. So somebody else. Did somebody say Menulog? This book is so good. The magic is sick. It kind of reminds me of like the way that superpowers are portrayed in the Boys TV show, where it's like traditionally they're seen as like, ooh, epic and awesome, and they're flying around. But this is like, okay, but what if it was like realistic shit? Like, you know, a laser, like from The Boys, right? A laser eyes, right, would just like slice someone open in half and they'd be like fucked up and like would look horrendous, and it would be like so bloody and gory and messed up. They kind of have that same energy in this book. And even though it's not super magic forward, there is definitely quite a few scenes that involve magic, and some of the more gruesome, harrowing ones are really cool. I really fuck with that kind of magic where it's like just brutal as all hell. It's really fun. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about this book, but I'm going on to read Before They Hang next, and I'm so excited. A big old 5-star for this book. And I'm predicting Before They're Hanged I'm gonna like even more, because a lot of people have that same they say it gets better, so I'm just gonna expect it to get better. Not saying that it has to, but this is a damn fine book. It's probably just as good as The Lies of Locke Lamora for different but similar reasons. The Lies of Locke Lamora was really good at having a super interesting plot, and like the way that the book just kept building up and building up and building up through each chapter was captivating. Even if the beginning of the book was a little bit slow for me, especially with the flashback chapters that Lies of Locke Lamora has, this was just captivating full stop. It didn't have any claws or anything, and it was character focused, so that was extra good because I'm really loving that. But Lies of Locke Lamora is quite character focused as well, so I'm not going to say they're like opposites or anything. And then we have this silly little thing, this silly little guy, this little tome, this little thing I was reading. I have to admit, this was not that good. I don't know. I really like the Cosmere, right? I've read every single book up until now. I think there's 1 or 2 novellas. Well, there's probably more than that. There's a couple of novellas, and I haven't read all of White Sand, but I've read the snippet that's in the Ars Arcanum, which wasn't that good, but whatever. But this is giving not a lot, I suppose. I basically wrote my review like 2 minutes ago, so I'm just gonna go read that. Not 2 minutes ago, it's a couple hours ago, but everything that I said, I still believe in. Go away. Can I get these away? I don't know. Anyway, my Elantris review. Let's see. So I'm gonna list. So I gave it a 2.75 stars. Now that is such a weird arbitrary rating, but I was like, I want to give it a 3-star, but there are just so many things I think this book could have done better, and Brandon Sanderson has proven to be able to do a lot better in other books, and I think this book, it's okay if I give it a, it's still technically positive. It's like 5.5 stars out of 10, 5.5 out of 10, or whatever, right? I'm still technically positive. Overall, I think I had a completely mid experience reading this, if not like ever so slightly positive, because it was Cosmere and it was kind of entertaining in that regard. But let's read the pros and the cons. There are a lot more cons than there are pros, but we'll do one of each until there's only cons left. So the first con is there is a Deus Ex Machina solution to every issue. I don't want to sound too big-headed using that word, because honestly, I don't really know what it means. I kind of know what it means. It's like a there just happens to be a convenient solution to your issue, right? Or like something just happens that everything works out okay because there's a Deus Ex Machina, you know what I mean? But this book is just fucking full of it. It's so full of that happening. So much shit happens. We're like, okay, they're screwed, or something's gonna happen, and then just some crazy shit goes on. And this even happens for the bad guys. Like, you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, you know, the quote unquote good guys have won. It's all good. And then that something fucking happens. Something, you know, convenient happens or whatever. And this kind of goes in, fuck it, I'm just doing cons. This kind of goes into my next point of like, all the characters in this book just start gambling for with no information or anything to really back it up, right? Like Serene, especially in the beginning of the book, will like go up to some political motherfucker that's like gonna be someone that she's trying to manipulate or do something, and you know, her Seon is like, girl, what the fuck, you have no plan. And she's like, I know, I'll just figure something out. And it just ends up working perfectly. Like, they take these massive like gambles and risks with not much stuff to back it up, and it almost always works. I can barely think of any instance where a character in this book has taken a massive risk and it hasn't just like worked out in their favor. It's just everyone taking risks at each other, and they all just are succeeding one after the other. It's just so strange. And if someone takes a loss, like, you know, Serene takes an L of some sort, it's never because she fucked up. It's never because she did something and overextended herself or just made a stupid, uninformed decision. No, it's someone else had to best her in a way that she couldn't have seen coming. And it's stupid. Like, this character should have weaknesses, should have flaws, she's in a fucking foreign country that she's never visited before, I don't think. Like, she should be getting fucking rolled by all these people that live here and know what the fuck's going on. But no, she just manages to fucking make it all work. Anyway, that goes into my point 3, which is Serene out-politicking every single member of Arelon's court, which I thought was so stupid. You know, even, pushing aside the fact that she's a woman, and in this world, women aren't treated as well or as seen as serious or anything like that. Just the simple fact that you don't fucking come from this country and you're just like pulling up and saying all this bogus shit, people wouldn't be like rallying behind you like you're the fucking second coming of Domi. But these bitches are, and I don't understand it. I'm like, you should be like sus as fuck of this girl, and you don't want to like put all your time and resources into her stupid little mission. Anyway, the characters are dull as fuck. They're dull and they're boring. All 3 main POVs and most of the side characters as well. I liked Keen's family, but they didn't get a huge amount of screen time anyway. I think if like 1 or 2 of the members of the family were POVs and that was the whole book, maybe it would have been good. But it's sad to see these characters with a lot of potential, which were pretty much all of Keen's family members, they didn't get the amount of recognition that they deserved, and we just got boring ass Serene boring ass Harathin, and boring ass Raoden. God damn it. Someone does blackface in this book. Someone does one of the main characters does blackface, and it's just the most weird thing ever. It's not that bad. I'm not saying fucking cancel the book or anything. I'm more of making a joke about it, but someone literally does blackface in this book. Take that how you will. Sarene is just like every other girl in the Cosmere, but more boring. Yes. Like I swear to God, in every book Brandon Sanderson has ever written, it has like a rich girl that moves into a foreign court and like slays it all down. And I guess Vin isn't a rich girl, but she still does move into a foreign court, and slay, where they probably shouldn't because they don't know much about the foreign court. This is just, it happens in every Brandon Sanderson book. I don't know what the fuck his like desire to write like a female princess young girl who moves into like a foreign court or a foreign political system and like slays them all, full stop. I don't get it. It's in every single book. This is definitely the most boring iteration of it, but I don't know. I feel like people aren't calling it out that it's happening just in every single book. I mean, even in Tress of the Emerald Sea, she's not rich, but she's a girl who moves into like a foreign court or like a pre-existing political environment, and slays. And I'm sick of it. Especially when they don't have, when it doesn't make sense that they should slay in that environment. Let's look at Shallan in fucking Words of Radiance, shall we? She just pulls up randomly at the war camps. Well, I'm kind of spoiling what happens, whatever. For people that haven't read the fucking book, no one is going to have watched this, but Shallan, when she fucking pulls up, just starts like owning everybody. And I'm like, this, unless she was super serious about it. And look, Serena's pretty serious about her politics or whatever, right? So at least I can see it from that perspective, but Harathin's character was like watching paint dry. Yeah. That motherfucker was just sitting there and like ruminating and talking about religious doctrine for fucking pages and pages and pages. Shut up, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Oh, he's morally grey. That doesn't matter, bitch. He's boring as fuck, and you know it. And you know it. And you know it. He's fucking boring. I don't want to hear it. I saw a YouTube video like why Harathin like steals the show in Elantris. Girl, he stole nothing. He stole fucking nothing. The stick dragging scene? Girl, let me look at the map right now and try and fucking make sense of what the fuck I read, because I can't. What the fuck is that? Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused. Meh. I don't see it. Personally. Yeah. I'm not seeing it, to be honest. If you know, you know. The stick dragging scene. I thought it was stupid. Girl, I don't know what's happening. I know what's supposed to have happened, right? I know what it was trying to achieve. I just don't think it was written well. I don't think it made any sense. And I think I'm a smart girl. And I can be like, oh yeah, I understand. But when I truly think about it and scrutinize it, I don't think it was set up correctly. I don't think it was described so I could fucking know what was going on. Anyway. The /TP scene, the teleportation scene, was so ridiculous. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me early on in the book that teleporting like 10 meters is dangerous as fuck, because if you screw up even a little bit, you could be like get materialized into a wall and potentially die. And then later on in the book, it's teleportation, and it just I'm like, you can't do that. You can't tell me that if you fuck it up even by a little millimeter, you're gonna materialize into a wall and fucking, get blown up or get, I don't know, somehow merge with the wall and die, only to fucking do that shit later and have no repercussions. Spoiler alert, there aren't any repercussions. Or like even a slight hint of danger. Like, oh, we barely made it. Fake out deaths. I mean, I don't want to make anyone feel like if a character dies in this book that they're not going to stay dead, because a lot of characters die and stay dead in this book. But there are also fake out deaths, and I'm just sick of it at this point. I don't want to read the fake out deaths. I didn't feel any emotional impact on the deaths. I actually started laughing at I started giggling at one of the deaths. Because it was so stupid. It was so stupid. Random ass character comes out like an assassin, kills somebody. I'm like, what the fuck is this? In my humble opinion, the book only started getting moderately interesting after like 200 to 300 pages. I don't think the quality of the book picked up. I'm just saying I was kind of interested in what was going to happen. But it took me like 200 pages to really start being like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Maybe even 300. I can't remember. This one's kind of a spoiler, but not really. Sarene, choosing to be like, I love Elantris, I fuck with the Elantrians or whatever, like I side with them. But then she like sends them rotten fish and shit out of spite. I'm just confused as to what her morals are, because she seems to love the Elantrians and be like, oh my god, like they're humans, they're just like us, they're normal people, they deserve our respect. And then she just fucking like literally does a shit, smears it, and just like wipes it on their face and shit. She's a piece of fucking garbage towards them. And I'm like, girl, why is all this hate in your heart? But you're also pretending, I suppose, that there isn't all this hate in your heart. But then later on in the book, it's like, she doubles down on how much she enjoys Elantrians. She's fucks with the Elantrians. She's on the side of the Elantrians, I hated that part, because I was like, that doesn't make any sense for her character or anything. She's supposed to be like the slave girl that is like down for human rights, and then she fucking is being very offensive. I was offended. And the Hoid epilogue that got added, it wasn't very helpful. I wanted to know what shards were on sale, and I had to go and Google it. Because Hoid didn't say shit. Why even bother adding that? I don't really get it. I mean, people are happy to see Hoid, I suppose. And it showed one little magic thing that wasn't in the book originally, but was it even needed? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, that's the Cosmere in me speaking, I want to know what shards are on here. I want to know what shards exist. I want to know what their intent is. I want to know how that is affecting the magic and the way that the shards are appearing. But yeah, you have to Google it or read Way of Kings epigraph from chapter 22, I think, and try and put that together. But you probably won't be able to get the full story unless you Google it. So you have to Google it to know what was going on. All right, and let's leave on some positives, shall we? Let's live on some positives, because this wasn't all bad. There was a wig snatch. And when you read it, it's so funny. The wig snatch made me fucking crack up laughing. It's so good. Another positive is that many people die. Maybe I was just happy to see them go, but many people die. I think that's kind of fun for a Brandon Sanderson book where, if you read something like Stormlight Archive, people don't really die at the level of speed that they maybe should be, considering how deadly the forces are supposed to be. Not counting the bridgemen. They kind of die often, I suppose, but I can only see so many bridgemen die before I kind of start getting sick of it and I want to see somebody else die. We ordered the Among Us potion from the dark web. That's all I'll say about that. That's a positive. The Among Us potion, I thought that was a positive. Only because it was funny to me. But it didn't really make sense in the plot, and I could complain about that, but I'm gonna choose not to. And then my last positive is just FaceTime. They have FaceTime, and that's fun. I like that. So yeah, this is now my least favorite / the worst Cosmere novel or entry, which used to belong to Mistborn Secret History, which I feel like not many people agree with me, but that shit was all over the place. That shit was all over the fucking place. But this is worse. So I'll give you that. Will I be reading Elantris 2? Yes. But I think it's hundreds of years after this. It's set like hundreds of years after the events of Elantris 1. And I think... I know I can't say that. I kind of know the plot of it. Maybe. I don't know. Hour-long video. Hey, that's fine. I gotta take a pic for the thumbnail as well, girl. Damn. The Wig Snatch. The Wig Snatch 8. So now I'm just waiting for the other secret projects. I'm planning on starting Skyward maybe towards the middle of this year. Maybe even a bit earlier. Depends how I'm feeling. Because the final book of the Skyward series is coming out later this year. And although I haven't started it, and I kind of doubt whether or not I'm actually gonna like it or not. I have a lot more doubt now than I did before. Because I think I bought the Skyward series while I was reading Stormlight Archive. I was like, oh, it's a sci-fi entry. But now that I kind of know Brandon Sanderson's writing and what he does and what I like and what I don't like, I'm kind of scared of a YA sci-fi series from him. But I'm gonna read it at some point, and I hope I really like it. But I'm scared that I won't. Anyway, I'm gonna end this. If you made it this whole way, text your mom and tell her I love her. Bye. Comment a flower.